Continue with the mining theme now and the Mining Indaba theme, because Chris Bishop from CNBC Africa caught up with Brad Gordon, the CEO of Tanzania's largest gold producer, and here's what those two had to say to each other.
We've been in Tanzania now for 15 years and we've found it a very good place to do business. Now we have 3 mines producing more than 700,000 ounces a year. We have a large exploration project in Kenya, and we're expanding into West Africa. So, we don't have a problem doing business in Africa.
And what do you think about this idea of risk, though, reducing risk, taking risks in the mining business right now? It seems to be the big talking point of this Mining Indaba.
Yeah, look, it's manageable, and it depends very, very much on your relationships with the government, with the communities. 2 years ago, we were in a worse situation in terms of relationships, but today the relationships we have with the government and the community are the best they've ever been, and we're using that reputation to get into other countries in Africa.
And where are you looking at the moment? I mean, you're in Tanzania at the moment. You also got an exploration project in Kenya.
Yes.
What other countries are you looking at?
We've just announced a new deal farming into some exploration ground in Burkina Faso. And we're talking to some other companies in Burkina Faso, but we're also interested in Senegal, Mali as well, in West Africa. And there may be other countries that we'll look at as well, but they're the initial countries that we're looking at operating in.
And one of the big challenges you've faced in the last few years is your costs, which you've driven down significantly. How have you done that?
Well, yeah, 2 years ago our costs were $1,700 per ounce on an all-in basis. Today they're under $1,100 per ounce. So, we started ahead of the rest of the industry because we had to, and we've made good progression. But largely it's been around re-engineering each of our mines. We have taken a different technical approach on each of the 3 mines, reducing overhead costs, and we've reduced a lot of expatriates in the business as well. So it's across the board, but it had to be done.
And your costs have come down from $1,700 in the last 2 years to about $1,100 an ounce.
Yes.
Surely with the gold price where it is, you've still got some way to go.
Yes, we do. We have good assets, and that was always what attracted me to Acacia. It was the quality of the assets. We believe that Bulyanhulu and North Mara in particular, our 2 best assets, are some of the best assets in Africa. And if you look at the guidance we're giving the market over the next 5 years, then our production will be going up and our costs will be going down to around the $900 on an all-in basis. So we still have some work to do.
And what do you think are going to be the greatest risks in the future, looking at where you are at the moment?
Look, technically I think we've got that covered. Obviously relationships are important to us, so we'll spend a lot of time on building those relationships. But also people. We also spend a lot of time on selecting the right people for the right roles, and it's very important that that happens. Sometimes it doesn't, but developing local people into local positions is the right thing to do.
One thing I must ask you about risk is that a lot of countries, Zimbabwe and Zambia in particular, they're increasing their royalties on mining. Surely that must be a fear at the back of your mind.
Yeah, look, it is, but let's see where that ends up. I know a little bit about what's been happening in Zambia. There's been an election coming up. Royalties have increased. Some of those marginal mines just won't survive at those royalty rates. So I think common sense will prevail.
Well, the elections actually go on, and they're going to keep the royalties where they are. But point is, don't you ever see it as almost like killing the golden goose?
Look, you can look at it that way, but the industry's done very well over many years. Not so much in recent years, but for decades, the African mining industry has been the stalwart of the economy here, and all of the stakeholders of the African mining industry have participated in that. And the challenge for us and companies like Acacia is to make sure that everyone shares in those gains in the future.
And there's a lot of doom and gloom around at the moment. We talk to people about mining. Do you share that? What do you think?
I tend to be counter-cyclical when it comes to these things. There are not too many companies who are venturing into exploration deals in other countries in Africa at the moment. But the geology hasn't changed. So now's the time for a company like us that is generating cash to look at picking up some of the best ground in Africa. So I'm contrarian in that view. Things will change, and there's no doubt about that. It's just a question of when.
That was Chris Bishop from CNBC Africa chatting to the CEO of Tanzania's largest gold mine, and that is Acacia.